Whenever you're working in a home or evaluating a home for any reason, you have an excellent opportunity to evaluate the home for health and safety hazards. And we call this a Healthy Homes Inspection, and we're going to look for hazards, identify them, and then educate the clients. We're going to educate the clients using this consumer guide to home health, and we have a checklist inside that we're going to go through and identify the health and safety hazards that are important.
John inspects the stairwell for slip, trip, and fall hazards. Using his checklist, he's noting a missing handrail, some clutter on the stairs, and a pretty loose step. And now John moves into the basement. The first thing he notices is the shelf at the back wall. The shelf contains various liquids in unlabeled and labeled containers. Some of these may be flammable or poisonous. Easily accessible prescription and over-the-counter drugs can also be a poisoning hazard. He notes these hazards on his checklist and moves on to some other concerns. In the same room, John notices the uncovered dirt floor and a rock wall foundation. These surfaces bring moisture into a home. John looks under the wall insulation and the band joist insulation for mold, mildew, and signs of a pest infestation. John also lifts a discarded plastic sheet to see if there's any moisture on the ground surface. John is noting any excessive moisture or infestation on his Healthy Homes checklist. John's also concerned about radon in the basement. He sets up a radon testing kit on the dryer. In 48 hours, the homeowner will come down and collect the sample and mail it off to a testing facility. John walks into the basement mechanical room and inspects around a water heater and a space heater. Both of these appliances are natural draft and are more likely to cause carbon monoxide and fire problems. John checks around the perimeter of the water heater for any signs of backdrafting or rollout. He notices a few fire hazards and moves them out of the combustion appliance zone. John also checks that the carbon monoxide detector is working, and he also notes that the smoke detector's battery is missing. John looks around the main floor of the house during his inspection. Here, he is looking for mechanical ventilation systems. He finds a working exhaust fan in the bathroom, but none in the kitchen. John moves a pan from the front burners to the rear burners and takes note of the missing kitchen ventilation on his Healthy Homes checklist. John does a lead test on the exterior siding of the house. He's using a 3M lead check swab to detect lead paint. To use the swab, John cuts a small nick in the paint, and to activate it, crushes the swab's tube and shakes it around. John rubs the swab on the nick that he cut out of the paint. There's no color change on the swab, and that means that there's no lead in the paint on the outside of this house. Okay, John's up in the attic, and the first thing he does is check under insulation bats for old vermiculite insulation. And in this home, he doesn't find any. While he was in there, he looked in the back of the attic to see that the gas vent from the basement appliances is continuous and in reasonable condition. He also looked over along the side of the attic to verify that the bathroom vent fan was ducted to the outside of the home.
Falls in the stairway, and we looked at that.
Finally, John is sitting down with the client to discuss his inspection. John shows the homeowner how to use his Healthy Homes informational booklet, and he goes through the checklist of problems he identified during his inspection. He leaves the signed checklist and booklet behind for the client's future reference and takes a copy for himself.
We started our Healthy Homes inspection on the stairs, and we found that we had some hazards in that there were no handrails. We had some problems with debris on the walkways and the stairs being damaged. We went further into the basement. We found some poisoning hazards. We found a smoke detector with no batteries. We found a CO detector that was working. We removed some fire hazards, and we noted that we needed to do some combustion testing down there. And we moved upstairs after that and looked for some ventilation in the bathroom and found a good ventilation fan. In the kitchen, there was no powered ventilation. We advised the client to open the window when he was cooking, and we also found that the client is a smoker. We suggested that he smoke only outdoors. Then I did a lead test on the outside of the house because the client was thinking about painting the house and wanted to know whether there would be any lead hazard they would be exposed to. And luckily, the paint was not lead-based paint. Then we went up in the attic and we checked the combustion appliance venting. We checked that the vent was continuous from the bathroom to the outdoors. And we looked for vermiculite insulation, which contains asbestos, but we didn't find any, luckily. And after that, we wrapped it all up with a discussion at the kitchen table where I explained the Healthy Homes booklet, showed the client where the information that he needed was located, went through the checklist with them, and finished by giving him some advice on avoiding the hazards. And then we signed the checklist, which meant that I gave him a consistent and thorough report on what I found, and he heard what I said to him, and so I get to put that in his file, and he has it for his own references so that he can consult the book whenever he needs to.